You know that room? We all have one. Maybe it's a closet or the garage or that spare bedroom. You look in there and, ugh, you just get this wave of guilt, right? It's not filled with junk exactly. It's filled with the ghosts of good intentions. Today, we're going to figure out why that room exists for pretty much all of us by telling the story of a guy named Arthur Pendleton.
Wow. I mean, what an opening line. You can just feel the weight of that, can't you? That sound, that's not just cardboard and stuff falling over. Nope, that's the sound of broken resolutions. It's the sound of forgotten dreams. It hits right at the emotional heart of what we're talking about today.
And that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? This isn't just some story about Arthur. This is about, well, it's about us. It's this weird modern thing we all seem to do. So why? Why do we fill our homes with all the gear for lives we aren't actually living?
All right, so to really get to the bottom of this, let's take a little tour of Arthur's room of good intentions. And listen, it's not just a physical room, it's really a metaphor, right? It's like this psychological museum of what ifs that, let's be honest, most of us have somewhere in our own homes.
Just take a look at this list, seriously. Every single thing here isn't just an object, it's a whole potential person. Arthur didn't just buy a pasta maker, he was buying the identity of the chef. He didn't just buy some heavy kettlebells, he was buying into this whole fantasy of being the rugged athlete. You see the pattern? Every single purchase was like a costume for a different, better version of himself he hoped to become.
So, what is actually going on inside our heads when we do this? What's the brain science here? Well, this is where Arthur's friend Elena, who happens to be a neuroscientist, enters the story. And her explanation is, well, it's fascinating. She basically says, this isn't a character flaw, it's a biological hack.
And this is the absolute key to the whole thing. This one sentence really changes how you look at everything. We think we're buying stuff, right? We think we're in the business of collecting objects. But what's really happening is that our brain is just chasing a chemical rush. Okay, and this is a really important distinction to make. We all hear dopamine and we immediately think pleasure chemical. But that's not quite right. It's actually the chemical of anticipation, of motivation. Your brain doesn't crave the pleasure of having the thing. It craves the thrill of getting the thing. That dopamine spike, it doesn't happen when the package arrives. It happens the second you think, ooh, a reward is coming my way.
And this cycle, it just perfectly explains how modern online shopping completely hijacks our ancient brain wiring. I mean, the whole system is designed to remove every single obstacle between you feeling that dopamine surge and you clicking buy. So you see it, you imagine this amazing new life with it, your brain gets flooded with that go-get-it chemical, and bam, you click. But then the box shows up, and the high, it's gone. It's totally gone. And you're just left with a thing, and the quiet sinking feeling that the real work hasn't even begun.
But, this isn't just about brain chemistry. There's another layer to this. It's also deeply, deeply tied to our sense of self, to our identity. Specifically, it's about that constant, nagging conflict between the person you are and the person you wish you could be. And I think this contrast is something we can all relate to, right? It's like we have these two versions of ourselves running at the same time. There's the actual self. That's the person who's beat after a long day at work and is absolutely ordering takeout. Then there's the ideal self. That's the person we shop for, the one who has endless energy to make pasta from scratch and become fluent in Italian. You could almost say our purchases are like little gifts from our exhausted actual self to our perfect imaginary ideal self. I mean, that quote just nails it, doesn't it? That room is a museum for your ideal self. The technical term for this is identity projection. Basically, we buy the props, the guitar, the Rosetta Stone, the fancy running shoes, and we trick ourselves into believing that just by owning the tools, we'll magically absorb the identity that comes with them. And here's the real trap, the little cognitive shortcut our brain takes. The simple act of buying the thing, it feels like an accomplishment. It gives us this little hit of progress. It tricks us into feeling like we've already done the hard work, when really, all we've done is outsource the effort to our Visa. Okay, so now we get why we buy all this stuff. But that leads to the next big question. Why is it so ridiculously hard to get rid of it? Why do we let it just sit there, piling up, creating this constant low-level hum of guilt in the background? Well, the first reason is something called the sunk cost fallacy. Think about it. As long as that $300 pasta maker is sitting in your closet, the loss isn't
official. It's not final. In your head, the potential for it to be worth the money is still alive. The second you get rid of it, you have to admit, yep, that money is gone for good.
And then there's the endowment effect, which might be even more powerful. This is the idea that once we own something, it becomes part of us. It's an extension of our identity. So getting rid of that guitar, it's not just tossing out some wood and strings. It feels like you're officially admitting, I will never be that cool, soulful musician. It's like you're killing off a little piece of your own future. And this last psychological trap? It might be the sneakiest one of all. It's called the Zeigarnik effect. And the principle is simple. Our brains hate unfinished business. So every single unused thing in that room is what psychologists call an open loop. It's a quiet little nagging voice in the back of your head saying, use me, learn me, read me. That clutter isn't just taking up physical space. It's a constant, massive drain on your mental energy, on your mental RAM. So, let's recap. We're neurologically wired to buy this stuff and psychologically trapped into keeping it. Sounds kind of hopeless, right? Well, it's not, I promise. Now let's talk about the way out, the actual solution.
And it all starts with this one fundamental shift in your thinking. The goal is not to finally force your tired, real self to become one of those dozen fantasy selves. The goal is to accept and maybe even learn to love the person you actually are, right here, right now.
Okay, so how do you actually do that? It starts with a super simple, practical audit. You're going to go into that room and you're going to pick up every single one of those ghosts of good intentions one by one. And for each item, you ask yourself one simple, very powerful question.
And that question is not, will I use this someday? Because someday is a trap. No, the real question you need to ask is this. Does this fit the life I am living today? It's so powerful because it just cuts through all the wishful thinking, all the someday maybe fantasy, and it forces you to look at your actual real life. And that is what it feels like when you finally break the cycle. In the story, Arthur sees this amazing telescope, and the old urge comes back. But this time is different. He sees the pattern, and he chooses the quiet relief of closing an old loop instead of the quick, cheap thrill of opening a new one. And he realizes that's the real reward, the lasting peace, not the temporary dopamine hit.
4 hours. That's how long it took him. 4 hours of really conscious and, yeah, probably pretty difficult work to undo years and years of this habit. He literally went through every single item, sort of thanked it for the dream it represented for a while, and then he let it go. And the result is just beautiful. He didn't fill the room with a new hobby. He didn't try to become another new person. He just left it as space. Yeah, physical space for sure, but more importantly, mental space. The room wasn't a museum to a dozen people he wasn't anymore. It was finally a blank canvas for the one person he actually was. So as we finish up here, that's really the question I want to leave you with. Every single one of those objects in your own room of good intentions, it's an open loop. It's an unfinished story. So what unfinished story are you ready to finally close so you can make room for the life you're actually living right now?
Please like and subscribe.